Roundtable, Real Alex Clark, Soft Sticks, Marker.
And this is my cabinet, the conservative cabinet. Hey, it's Alex Clark, host of the Spillover podcast produced by Turning Point USA. I am at America Fest, and this is Turning Point USA's biggest event with over 10,000 adults and students, all 50 states represented. Also, I heard a couple different countries. And today I have a roundtable panel of college-age conservative women, and also one of you is a high schooler, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's go around the table and just say your name, if you're high school, college, where you go to school, and your major, if it applies.
My name's Sophia DeRiggi. I go to West Virginia University, and I'm a political science pre-law major.
So my name's Madeline East. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm in high school.
My name is Bianca Esposito. I go to Vanguard University in California, and I'm a business administration major.
And then my name is Kelly Barrett. I go to the University of Tampa, and I'm a finance major.
Awesome. Okay, so tell me what your all's relationship status is currently. Is anyone dating anyone? Is anybody serious relationship, talking stage?
So currently I actually just got, I actually just broke out with my boyfriend. He actually was a Turning Point president as well.
Oh, the tea! The tea! Girl, I don't even think 30 seconds are on the clock yet.
But yeah, things just didn't work out, and I told him, if he won't do it, another man will. So
Amen.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
so I am single, ready to mingle.
There we
I
go.
love that. I'm very single.
Okay.
I don't want a boyfriend right now. I'm like, if he doesn't meet my standards, I don't want him.
I think that's fair.
So yeah, I have high standards, and I'm not ashamed about it.
I'm in a committed relationship. It's been about almost 2 years now, so.
2 years. So did you meet before or during college?
Actually before college, but we got together during college.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what about you?
I'm single. Tampa's definitely an area where it's like very hookup prominent, and I'm not part of that. I don't want to be part of that culture, so it's been hard finding anyone that's like on the same level in that sense. So yeah, I'm super picky, but it's such a great thing because it's a great time to be building myself professionally, and obviously with Turning Point and everything as well.
So I know you're in high school and then you're in a committed relationship, but are either of you using apps or no?
No, actually, I tried the right stuff one time, but I think there was literally 2 men in my area, and one of them was my ex-boyfriend. So I was like, nope, not again. So, nope.
Okay, so yeah, I was curious about that. Like, when you have gone out, how are you meeting guys that you go out with? Is it just people that you know through school, or if it is on apps, or what people are doing?
Yeah, like I actually met my boyfriend when he was Turning Point president at a Turning Point meeting.
Okay.
So Turning Point kind of was Tinder.
And then so let's say the last person you went out with, how did you meet them?
I think I met him at the gym.
Okay.
Maybe? Yeah, so just like out and about.
So did you say something first, or did he say something?
No, he said something first.
Have you ever said something to a guy first? Have you ever approached a guy to ask them out?
No.
Are you against it, or you just haven't?
Personally, I'm kind of against it. I think if a man really is interested in me, he will pursue me. If not, move on. But
I agree with that.
I think it's a good way to start out of a relationship if the man comes to you first.
What happened with your current boyfriend?
He came to me and he asked me to play baseball.
Okay, that's cute.
He had like two baseball mitts and baseball, and was like, hey, do you know how to play catch? And I was like, yeah.
I love that. That's a cute open. Okay, so what are like immediate red flags to you guys when it comes to the opposite sex?
They're liberal.
Good one.
No, but really, yeah. What else? Big red flags. If all they can talk about is themselves, that's a big one.
I think very sneaky when they like bikini pics, that kind of stuff. I think that's really inappropriate.
When you guys are interested in a guy, do you pretty quickly after finding out their Instagram go to their following and see who they're following?
That and then tag
Yes.
photos.
You do?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, like I'm going immediately to the following, and if I'm scrolling and it's almost all women and it's all like Instagram thoughts, I'm immediately not interested.
Porn is such a prominent thing in this generation for guys, so it's like you have to see who they're following and what they're looking at.
You're in high school. Do you ever hear guys at school casually talking about watching porn?
No, because I go to a Christian school.
Okay, good.
And so I feel like it's under the radar though, because I mean, I think a lot of guys still deal with it, but it's not as open as if it was a public school.
Is there any wokeism at your Christian school?
No, I go to a very conservative school in Oklahoma, so thankfully there's not.
So there's one left. There's one left, everybody, in Oklahoma. Okay, that's good to know. And how about you guys? Do you feel like your campuses are pretty woke or more neutral or conservative?
I mean, I think, West Virginia as a whole, we are very conservative, but they are, a lot of women on campus that are very, very liberal. I would say more than men, because, we're having concealed carry happen in spring 2024, so, coming up.
On your campus?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm actually thinking about carrying maybe a pink gun.
I think that's great.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, you should have Paige come out and speak. Has she ever been to your school?
I think she actually was, maybe 2020 or 2021.
Oh, she's got to come back then.
Exactly.
The month that it becomes
exactly.
allowed.
Yeah.
And how about you? What's your campus like?
I would say pretty conservative, but they don't really limit what organizations are on campus. So this past semester, there's actually a Planned Parenthood organization that was allowed to be on campus. And so a lot of the students that are involved with that, they've been going into their classes and bringing like petitions with them. And it's like, you can't do that. I mean, they're having class assigned and professors just sit there and they're fine with it because they don't know how to stand up and say no for something they don't believe in. But again, some of them are okay with it, and it's crazy, and it's definitely gonna be my mission this upcoming semester to kind of poke at them and, get into their heads a little bit, because that is not acceptable.
And what about you?
So I would not say that my college is conservative. It's very Christian, so they don't really like to talk about politics, and they don't fund our Turning Point Club. Technically, we're not part of Vanguard University. We're just acting on the campus. But they are against like abortion and some of the key conservative principles like that. So I would say, yeah.
Were you in high school during 2020?
I was in 8th grade, so not quite in high school, but my school is K through 12th, so I was at the same school.
Okay, gotcha. When all of the BLM stuff was going on in 2020, I mean, you said that you live in a really good conservative Christian community. Did you see any of that trickle into school at all?
There actually was some of it. A couple of the people that were higher up at the school were trying to start stuff, and people lost their jobs, and it was this whole thing because one of our pastors was like, yeah, we're not going to have that at our school. And there were some students also that kind of fed into that narrative, and it was really sad to see. But for the most part, most of them were conservative, and most of the teachers are very conservative.
Do you feel like a lot of other people that you go to school with are outspoken about politics, or are you like a rarity?
They think I'm kind of, like, they don't think I'm weird, but they're like, wow, this girl's interesting. Like, she'll post on her story and on Instagram about stuff, and they just know that I'm very bold about it, but I think they agree with me, but they're just not as outspoken.
Yeah. How about you guys? How old were you when you finally started posting political views on social media?
I think 18.
I think this year, actually, when I joined Turning Point, because I went to a very liberal high school, public school in California. Everybody posted the black square when the BLM protests were happening. So I would say recently, I started posting about my view.
And then I would say for me in 2020, I was a junior in high school, and I remember, again, everyone was posting like the BLM, kind of the squares, and for a moment I was like, what is going on? And of course, like COVID was going on during this time, so everyone's at home behind their phones and their computers and just online, and that was the only form of communication really. And I remember doing research because I wasn't super politically involved, and that's when I was like, oh, like what is going on? And then I started posting, and people were actually like in my DM and just like coming at me for like things that I would post, and it was crazy to see that backlash, like just when I had really found like my core.
How frequently would you guys say you hear the term mental health in your day-to-day school? I mean, do you hear that term daily, weekly, monthly?
Yeah, I would say probably weekly. I think even at WVU, they literally have an LGBTQ building, like a specific house for them. So yeah, it's really interesting. They call it like the LGBTQ plus house, and they bring up mental health a lot with them. So it's definitely really interesting.
How about you in high school?
I would say probably monthly, or maybe, I mean, not that often. It's from students though, like, oh, my mental health is, you know, bad, but there's no LGBTQ propaganda and stuff like that in school.
Would you guys say that the majority of your friends are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds? Majority, minority?
I really don't. I have mostly conservative friends, so they aren't really. But
Not that I know of personally.
I would say minority for me, because I do have a lot of liberal friends or people that just don't really swing one way or the other, coming from high school and even my current college.
Are any of you guys friends, like close friends with anyone on the left?
no.
Not anymore.
What
I
happened?
feel like friendships like that, there was a really good friend that I had in high school and that kind of faded out. And she was actually one of those people who, so I have a younger sister too, that's a little backstory. She also got super involved in politics at the same time that I did, and she would post the same things. And so this friend of mine, she didn't slide up on my story, but she slid up on my sister's. And I remember it being a huge thing because she was just so, it might have been something abortion related. And she was just like, this is why you're wrong, and like really attacked my sister. And I was like, that is not okay at all. Like, as a friend, that's not appropriate whatsoever. And then there were less and less things that we had in common, so it kind of just faded out on its own. But it's sad because a lot of it happens like that. You just like lose like a common ground.
That's exactly what's happened to me. It's the same type of situation. Do you think guys find it more attractive or unattractive that you're very openly conservative?
More attractive.
More attractive?
Yes, yes.
I've had multiple guys tell me that they think it's so attractive that I'm very bold about what I believe in.
What do you think is the hottest to them for you to be pro-gun, pro-life? Like, what issue is it that they bring up the most to you?
I don't think it's an issue. I really think it's men are sick of liberal women. Like, what liberal women have brought to the table is not sufficient for a good conservative man. And I really don't think that a lot of men that I've met are very political. It's more so they're just looking for a good, strong woman that's not going to put them down every minute.
They want a good wife, they want a good wife and a good mother for their children, and they're not getting that from liberal women. So I think that's why they find conservatives really attractive.
Well, that, and you know, I think they're also looking for that motherly instinct that conservative women do possess. You know, there's so many liberals that they don't even want to have kids. You know, that is your personal decision, of course, but I think they're looking for someone that can raise children with them in a godly manner.
Do you guys think about that when it comes to picking your major? What major is going to be conducive to me raising children or being a mother? Is that something that you guys have thought about or not really yet?
Not really, no.
I'd say yes for me in terms of like thinking about a career. I do really want to be a mom and like a mom first. So it's definitely something I've thought about. What kind of career can I have to where I can successfully be a good mom and a good wife, but also bring some money in?
Yeah.
I think my degree is more of something, I'm a finance major. It's more something to lay back on, like if all else fails, which sounds kind of like a negative outlook, but it's like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to normalize like that traditional culture that we had in America at one point, and just, that's what I want personally. So my degree is just something to lay back on if that doesn't work out right away.
Absolutely. You guys are all young, conservative, college and high school age women. Would it be a deal breaker for you if a guy told you that he had gotten the COVID vaccine?
Absolutely.
Is that something that you ask guys if they've had it?
I wouldn't say outright, no. It's more of like, I kind of get a sense for where they fall politically first, and then they'll bring it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, like no.
Would you be nervous to have a child with somebody who's had the vaccine?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Is it something that if you were really into a guy and he disclosed that he had gotten it, that you would consider breaking up over even?
That's a difficult question.
That's
That's a difficult question.
I feel like it would come up before I really started to like him.
Yeah, I would ask that on the first date. I'd be like, listen.
It's one of those things where like, I don't know that I would let it continue.
Is it a deal breaker if they express that they regret it? Would it still be a deal breaker, like I still just don't want to have kids? Or if they tell you I was misinformed or I felt pressure from work or school to get it, that's why I did it and now I wish I wouldn't have, like then would you be okay with it? Or just I don't want that at all?
I feel like I would think about that, but then you still have those side effects in your mind of what the COVID vaccine really is and you know what the side effects of that were. So I would still think about that in the back of my mind.
What is your all's general take on the hormonal birth control pill? Do you view it favorably or unfavorably?
unfavorably personally.
I agree.
My pediatrician actually wanted me to get on it when I was 12.
Why?
Because I had really bad cramps and heavy flow. And I had other stomach issues, but he was like, oh, well, have we considered birth control? And I was like, I think I'm a little young for that. Like, it's not something that I really want to be on.
And was that really the only question? Do you remember if he brought up what the side effects would be?
No, he didn't. I remember that. It was just, oh, birth control. That was the very first thing he jumped to, and he didn't bring up any side effects.
Have you guys experienced that with any of your pediatricians?
No, I've actually had a really great one. I think, she hasn't really came out as being conservative towards me, but she has more of those conservative values. So I've been blessed with that.
That's great.
I would say it's also very hard to look up side effects because I've tried to look up what birth control actually does to your body, and there's really not that much information accessible on the web when talking about that, which I think is really scary because you're putting these things into our bodies and we really don't know how it affects us.
I mean, I know our view on men changes, like who we're attracted to. I know you've talked about that a lot. And I think that's so interesting.
It's very interesting.
Because, like, why would you want to get on something that's going to change your mind about who you're attracted to?
Yeah, exactly. What do you guys think about timelines? Like, do you think you have a time in mind of when you'd like to be married and have a family by, or you kind of like totally go with the flow, chill, like when, God wants to make it happen, it'll happen? Like, how do you feel about it? Are you anxious about it or not anxious?
I feel like I definitely have a timeline, but at the same time, I still keep in mind that it's God's time. I can still make up a complete timeline and it might not even follow his. But I mean, I definitely would want to get married by 24 at least.
I would say like 25 has been my that should be the right age, but at the same time, again, God's timing. And I try to always remind myself because it feels like the selection for guys right now is just very slim. And so I'm like, maybe I need a wider timeline. But again, whoever it ends up being will be meant for me. So
Yeah.
It's hard not to want to rush it though.
How are guys asking you out when you are asked out? Is it a DM? Is it a snap? Is it a text? Or is it in person?
I feel like it's always over social media. And actually, we were talking about this earlier when we first met each other about, if a guy asked for my phone number, would I want it to be my phone number or my Snapchat?
Yeah,
and I feel like
don't
Snapchat.
they ask you for your snap first?
Yes, it's always Snapchat. And I feel like that's getting, I am 19 years old. I'm going to be 20 in September. And I feel like it's getting really old to be asked for my Snapchat instead of my phone number. It's like that's kind of like the second step later on when you are kind of getting introduced to the guy. And then he's like, what's your phone number? I feel like that should be the first step. Snapchat's kind of like a red flag to me. So
I agree. I think Snapchat, it's just so silly to me because it's like, you'll start talking to someone, you'll be like, hey, and then it's just small talk, and then you just send pictures of your faces back and forth, and that's
exactly.
accomplishing
It's so
zero.
It's meaningless.
Zero,
Yes.
right.
Like, what's the first photo? They ask for your snap, and then what do they send you?
they might be like, what are you doing? The typical, like, what are you doing?
It's like, do you care that
Like, I'm at
much?
America Fest, what are you doing?
I actually think that it's made men weaker when they can do this through social media. It's made them more scared to approach a beautiful woman who is maybe unapproachable or like doesn't feel unapproachable. So I think that it's definitely a red flag when a guy texts you through Snapchat or Instagram.
How do you feel about the state of the conservative movement right now when it comes to women? Do you feel like they do a good job of reaching women, or they're doing a poor job?
I feel like, I think they're doing a great job right now, especially with the conference that Turning Point offers specifically for women. But I think really right now it's most important as well with men because there's so many men. Like I said, on my campus, there's a lot of conservative men. But, they might have completely different values and, dealing with it. Like I've met some conservative men that have had the COVID vaccine, so they're kind of a little bit lukewarm, I would say. But yeah, just finding that person that can be my soulmate, I feel like it's very difficult. And I think we kind of need to talk on that more as well. How men can
you're
improve.
saying you would like to see more of a culture, family, relationships, conversations coming out of the conservative movement?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
I actually think that they're doing a good job, but I do think the left is doing a good job of pushing people to a more conservative mindset. It's gotten too crazy on the left, and moderate people are starting to realize, hey, this is crazy town over here. I need something a little more normal, a little more natural. And it's opening up people's minds. Even with the COVID vaccine, I think it's opening up people's minds of what are we vaccinating our babies with when they come out of us? Like Candace Owens has a series on that, and it definitely opened my mind. I'm like, wow, what have I put into my body so far with all these other vaccines?
How do you answer people when they accuse you of hating yourself as a woman because you're conservative?
Honestly, I think like the left's ideology of having sex before marriage, getting abortions, that's way more harmful than anything on the right. So
Exactly.
what we're living by is what the Bible says, and I think that that's truly what we were created to do and how we were created to live. And so, I mean, I honestly tune out people that say stuff like that.
Well, I also think as well, weak men, they are intimidated by godly women and conservative women. You know, if you are both, you are just like a 1 in a million package, because they are intimidated of women that have their heads on their shoulders, are ambitious, and they're looking for that man, and they know that they can't play with a conservative woman.
On the University of Tampa campus, people just don't care. All they care about is going out, partying, having fun, their hookup culture, and I feel like our Turning Point chapter is the exact opposite of that, but it's also hard to get people to come in and actually care. And I live by the philosophy you can't make people care about something, but you can show them why it's important. So what would be a good way to kind of like create an outreach to those students who are just like, I just don't care about anything?
Offer food.
Yeah, that's good. We try.
Every meeting,
Freebies.
every meeting, tell them exactly what it is. We are gonna have fried chicken. We are gonna have pizza, but you have to come in person. I think like most of these kids, they will show up for that because they're starving or they're sick of ramen noodles or whatever. So that's my thing. And that's the same way for adults. You guys will notice that adults, even when people have kids and everything, it is so hard to get people to show up in person. People will just like not show up to kids' birthday parties after RSVPing. It's absolutely so sad. But if you tell parents, we're gonna have chili, they will show up. So I always tell people that, like, give them some, entice them in some way to do that. You always have to, I think, whatever the conservative issue that you're trying to get them to care about, you've got to link it back to them personally. Why should they care personally? Figure out what that link is. Like, as a college student, you should care about this because XYZ, like this is coming to our campus and this is going to impact you in this way. Like, don't just be like, care about abortion. Like, you should care about abortion because, so I think always linking it back, making it really personal to them of why they should care and it'll affect their daily life. I think that's really helpful.
When you are dating men, what is the biggest red flag you see in them that you really try to avoid?
I always avoid the first thing. I will not even entertain. I won't even go out with the guy if he says, I'm open to short-term or long-term. I don't do that because every time that tells me they have no idea what they're looking for. They just want like a girl anywhere they can take her, any way that they can take her, and that they're not necessarily looking for a serious relationship. So I'm looking for a serious relationship that could lead to marriage. So if I get this like, anything casual, like I'm not looking for anything serious, immediately no for me, because I just know we're not on the same page. Those are the type of people that they end up going out with me and like, well, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I'm dating for marriage. They're like, absolutely freaked out.
Well, if you're not dating for marriage, you're dating for heartbreak. So like, what is the point of that? I don't understand when people say that, like, oh, I don't know if I want something long term. Then what are you looking for?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I really think it's the culture that has trained people's brains to think that way. Like, so many celebrities, they say, oh, a 10-year long relationship in celebrities is like forever because they're constantly breaking up and getting back together with somebody or a different person. And culture has trained our brain to think like that, to think like, oh, this is temporary, when really marriage is supposed to be forever. People aren't supposed to get divorced, but they do. There's like a 50% divorce rate, which is crazy when marriage has historically been in the church and forever. It's supposed to be till you die, which is why you say till death do us part. So I really think that is a culture thing, and that's why it's important that we do stuff like this, because it helps change people's minds about stuff like that.
All right, let me ask you guys the most important question, at least if you're asking me.
Okay.
Are any of you as conservative women Swifties?
Yes.
How do you respond to people that say you shouldn't like Taylor Swift because you're a conservative and she hates
Okay,
conservatives?
I know you talked about this, and I always slide up on your stories. I'm like, girl, I get it, but it's so hard for me because I've always been a Swiftie, like since I was little, and I really like her. And I think sometimes there's a lot of propaganda on both sides. I will say, I don't know if you've seen the stuff about her running for office.
No.
Okay, there's like this big thing, and I'm like, guys, I don't really think she's gonna do that.
She would never do that.
No, right? I'm like, she's already a billionaire. Like, why would she?
No, she is about music and music only.
Yes, exactly.
But I get the most hate Out of anything I talk about, anything I could say I'm pro-life, it'll be crickets in my DMs. As soon as I say I love Taylor Swift as a conservative, I will get 50 to 60 DMs immediately telling me, how dare you, you're a fake conservative for liking her. It's just silly.
Yeah.
But I was just curious how you guys feel about her. Or if you really don't like her, or if you do think it's problematic for conservatives to like her. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I like her. I mean, I'm actually into like oldies music. Like people make fun of me. I literally have an Elvis Presley autograph. I am a severe like Elvis fan. Like,
did you see Priscilla yet?
No, I haven't. And I'm actually gonna have like a movie night at my apartment with some like conservative friends. We're gonna watch it. Priscilla.
Priscilla's great.
But yeah, I've heard it's really good.
Put Lordy in it. Yeah, it's cute. Yeah. But Austin Butler and Elvis
See, I'm
also.
more of an Austin Butler
He
girl.
did so good.
Yeah, he is.
They both were excellent. I saw both of those movies this year. I didn't see Elvis till a month or so ago, and I really enjoyed it. What do you think led you to being conservative?
I definitely think heartbreak. I mean, this liberal society has taught so many of us that we need to settle for less. There's nobody that's going to meet our high standards. And I've even been told recently, no man will meet my high standards, but I know that's going to happen someday. And I know the Lord has someone, set up for me. And, I feel like heartbreak has truly opened my eyes and made me a stronger person and just made me once again realize, I need to make my relationship with God stronger and that He has the perfect person out there for me.
I would agree with that. I also would like to say that my parents are divorced, and I like to say the one thing my parents agreed on was politics and religion. They were both Catholic and they're both conservative, and they disagreed on pretty much everything else. And so I'm very blessed in that way because I've always leaned more conservative. I would say in high school, when I was brainwashed, I leaned a little bit more left, came back when I realized I want to be a mom someday. And I definitely think having a fatherly role in your life, a good father who shows you how to find a good man and how to be a strong woman. My dad has always pushed me, like in every aspect of my life. He's always said things like squeaky wheel gets the grease, try to push me out of my comfort zone is so important. And that's why having the nuclear family is something the left likes to destroy, because they don't want women to be strong. They want us to be weak so that they can control us. And so that's why I'm so passionate about being against divorce, because it's so important that a child has that and has a good man in their life as a role model.
Yeah, my parents are divorced too, but I'm blessed with both an amazing stepdad and just biological dad, and I love them both so much, and they've been really strong father figures in my life. Same with my brother. I have an older brother, and he taught me pretty much everything I know. He's very conservative, a really strong Christian. And I will say, as I've grown closer to the Lord, I've grown farther from the world. And I think that that's been such a blessing because I've lost so many friends over it. I've gone through so much turmoil, but through it all, God has been by my side, and I've been able to be bold with my faith and just with what I believe in.
My parents are also divorced, so I was always closer to my grandma and my mom, so they're actually both from Poland. They were born there. And if you know anything about Polish people, they're very strict and prim and proper and scary, and I just grew up with that, and that was kind of, they allowed me to grow in my confidence and just to not be afraid of what I believe in and who I am. And a big thing was faith. I mean, I grew up Catholic, but it didn't really occur to me for it to be that important until I actually got to high school and I started putting myself and my faith on my own. And yeah, they just provided this amazing ground for me to grow to who I am today.
I see conservative men on Twitter a lot say that there's no such thing as a good woman anymore. If they are decent, they're usually a single mom, they've already had kids, they've gone through a divorce, that there's no young women under 25 who are conservative, who are waiting till they're married, who are unvaccinated. What's your all's response to that?
That is completely false. My question to them is, where are they finding these women? Are they looking in the clubs or in churches?
Yeah, and are they not coming to Turning Point?
Exactly,
That's the question.
exactly. No, but where, seriously, where are they looking? Because there are women that are strong Christians who are loving and sweet and are conservative everywhere. But you just also, God hides His gems. So I mean, they really have to look for them. They can't look at clubs. That's not where they're gonna find them.
I like God hides His gems.
I think it's also important too. I mean, a lot of strong women raise strong women, but nobody talks about the men. And, you know, my parents aren't divorced. They have a very good relationship. They've actually been married for almost 30 years. But my dad is so sweet. Every single year, ever since I was like 4, he would have someone deliver flowers for Valentine's Day and my birthday, ever since I was like 19. And even like with college, he will find somehow someone to hand me flowers in some crevice. And I think, you know, just having a good man in your life as well as a father figure has also taught me to not settle for less at all.
Thanks for watching this Conservative Roundtable. Make sure you subscribe for more.